Good evening and welcome to Special Assignment. I'm Ashraf Garda. Tonight we bring you a follow-up to Pollsmoor's Got Talent, which we broadcast in 2009, about a unique rehabilitation program that trains offenders to produce television programs for offenders, the only one of its kind in the world. But this program has now been shut down. Hazel Friedman went to find out why.
In 1998, Marius Bowden had a vision to change the lives of South African inmates in prison.
I haven't done what I've done for 14 years because I needed a job. I did it because it's my passion.
He trained offenders to produce television programs for offenders.
Rehabilitation is not just training people in skills. It is really developing the person, the inner man, the person inside.
And he brought inmates and wardens together. Prison Broadcasting Network, or PBN, is the only rehabilitation program of its kind in the world. But now its services have been terminated.
Lockdown!
To most South Africans, Pollsmoor is a forbidding place of containment for South Africa's most violent criminals, a prison infested by overcrowding, gangs and violence, a place where wardens and inmates regard each other with mutual distrust. Yet, not only did Pollsmoor open its doors to PBN and its cameras, but to Special Assignment as well. In 2009, the Department of Correctional Services permitted us to document PBN's training methods and programming. We were so impressed with their achievements that even our camera crew got involved. But how did it all begin?
About 12 years ago, I got an invitation to go and visit a prison with the church I was going to at the time, and I expected to see all these hardened gangsters, that we're so used to seeing on our TV sets. And I discovered just normal human beings, the hurting individuals and broken people, and I decided then that I wanted to help them.
A sound engineer and film industry veteran, Marius quit his job and decided to use his expertise for a radical form of rehabilitation, a radio broadcasting station.
All we had was a little CD Walkman and 20 CDs, and we packed it in a suitcase, a little briefcase, and we walked into the prison and we said we had to start the radio station. And they laughed at us. The warden sent us home.
But Marius had even bigger plans than a radio station.
Besides the training element of what we do, the broadcasts of the programs that we produce are, how can I say, even better than any other type of program, because it's programs for offenders by offenders. We're a seed planting organization. We go out and we try and impact offenders positively. So just the little seeds that we drop in whatever way, through our programs, through our training, that's what makes the difference.
Kwanele Rossi was a PBN student.
Me and my friends wanted this life, this fast life of having things that we cannot afford, And I never saw it wrong, but it was just a temptation. It was a terrible thing for me, because I ended up depressed. I thought I disappointed everyone first in my family. I have realized my wrongdoings, and I'm trying by all means to live up as a good person.
Kwanele has changed drastically. He was negative. There are a lot of things that were happening to him as a person, and there are a lot of things that were happening in prison that were not satisfying to him. But the moment he got involved with PBN, he is a very changed person. He's very positive.
PBN aimed to produce programs relevant to the lives of offenders and to improve relations between inmates and correctional officers. It also encouraged the blossoming of individual talent in the form of Jailstar, the prison version of Idols. And it was perhaps this project, with its captive audience, literally, that succeeded in bridging the divide between those incarcerated and their custodians.
Welcome to Jailstar 2009. We're coming to you from Pollsmoor Medium B, and from the noise outside we can hear that there's a lot of contestants that are waiting to come and show us what they can do.
That was almost like a benchmark sort of program, because it dealt with so many issues across the board in terms of correctional services, bringing offenders and correctional officers together.
Jailstar transformed criminals into stars behind bars, crooners, shakers and movers, performing with bite and sometimes without.
So if there were a problem, you outside, we check out the hook while you DJs performing. Ice, ice, baby. Dum, 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 dum. Ice, ice, baby.
If I see you in the next round without your teeth, strictly disqualified.
Yes.
You know?
You just see one set at the bottom, nothing.
Some had voices to die for, others voices to die from.
If I was your girlfriend and you sing for me like that, I would have given you a gun and say, shoot me rather. Rather shoot me, because I can't listen to you. I'm going to die if I listen.
People have to put these hard shells over themselves the whole time. And a competition like this, you know, people could show their fun side. One might be wearing brown uniform, the other might be wearing orange uniform, but at the end of the day, we're all people inside those uniforms. And to sit on an equal level for the shooting of that show, it was great.
So why, given its success and support, has PBN been shut down? We'll get the answers after this.
Prison actually runs like a well-oiled machine on negativity, and to do some sort of program that's positive, it's very difficult because of the way that the system has been geared since the apartheid era till now. That
before democracy, our prisons reflected the militaristic, divisive state of apartheid South Africa. But in 1994, the government released the first white paper outlining the vision for transforming prisons to places of rehabilitation. A second white paper followed in 2005. Even the term prison was changed to correctional facility.
The role of the department in this cluster is not to punish the perpetrators of crime, but to contribute to preventing the commission of crime through the changing of offending behavior.
It was about making that shift from prison as punishment to prison for punishment.
Stan Henkerman is with the Institute for Justice and Reconciliation. From the late 1990s, he ran a rehabilitation program called Prison Transformation Project, first in Pollsmoor, then in facilities countrywide.
When you walk with a prison warder, you feel that you have chosen sides. That's the way I felt, because I felt that offenders in particularly think, okay, so you're one of them, and so that was pretty much the environment, so you can understand that they listen to you, but they sizing you up, and the big issue for any offender is, yeah, that's all right. You can say what you want to say, but are you going to come back?
But Marius did come back. At no cost to the Department of Corrections, he developed a state-of-the-art television infrastructure, not only to implement his vision for PBN inside prison, but outside as well.
One of the things that we've tried to do is to get the offenders involved on the outside. We haven't been able to do that to a great extent because of restrictions in funding and that sort of thing. But that's certainly something that we're trying to develop, where we can have an outside production company as such that can actually employ these guys, because when they come out, a lot of people don't want to give them opportunities.
He also made plans to establish a national prison television station that would broadcast programs by both offenders and ex-offenders.
We've proposed a national television station for correctional services that will basically link up all the TV networks, the current TV networks, and make them far more effective than they are at the moment, and really just enhance what correctional services have already done in trying to control what offenders watch and that sort of thing. But there has to be another element beyond just controlling what they watch, and that is to provide relevant and specifically tailor-made programs for offenders.
His vision has been endorsed by bodies such as the Cape Film Commission. He also presented his plan to the spokesperson for the Minister of Correctional Services and the National Commissioner of Corrections, who also hailed it.
It was received very, very well. In fact, we were told that we just needed to have another meeting with the National Executive Committee, and we've been waiting for that meeting.
But 6 months after he presented his vision to the department, he received a letter from the Area Commissioner of Pollsmoor terminating his services.
The reason that they gave was that Pollsmoor is becoming a waiting trial prison for waiting trial detainees and further charges, and therefore, those guys are not given there's virtually no program for waiting trial offenders.
But on to waiting trial prisoners, the very category urgently in need of rehabilitation programs before they are sucked into the prison system's revolving door of recidivism.
If a correctional service is serious about this notion of corrections being a societal responsibility, initiative such as PBN would be welcomed with open arms. An opportunity to use offenders to positively influence other offenders. Where can you buy that kind of rehabilitation programs? You can't. The best rehabilitators, the best people to influence other offenders are ex-offenders or offenders themselves.
We repeatedly requested answers from Pollsmoor's area, regional and national commissioners. Our requests were ignored. The minister is not mandated to interfere with their decisions, so it seems there is a lockdown on information. Does this mean that the policies of the white paper have somehow got lost in translation?
The new white paper has gone a long way to challenge the mindset of correctional officials, but also their commitment on paper that corrections is a societal responsibility. And so there was, at least on paper, a willingness to open up.
The environment is a very hostile environment, you see, and the offenders themselves are very hostile. The wardens themselves are hostile. So it does affect you to a point where you can either be, go against the grain, or just give up and say, this is as good as it's going to get, this is where I'm meant to be, I don't care much.
The environment practically definitely provides a lot of challenges for rehabilitation, and I do not believe that it is a conducive environment. And a lot of work will have to go into that to make it more conducive.
One of the reasons why we made a major shift from working exclusively with offenders was because prison officials showed a big measure of insecurity. Suddenly they have to make this shift. That's the one thing. The other thing is suddenly the offenders are exposed to information, exposed to dialogue that puts them, on a level where they are motivated, and there's a buzz going on. And bear in mind that it's an atmosphere where you don't want too much of a buzz amongst the prison population, because a buzz can only mean a bad thing.
If they haven't been influenced to treat us like, you're a bandit, as the term would be, some of them are actually very nice, very helpful, but I can't say that, all of them are nice. the vast majority, I think, of wardens are bad apples that maybe...
Senior management, I think, conceptually buy into all these things. But the real bottleneck is at middle management. And those are the people who have to make things happen.
The white paper stressed the importance of partnerships between correctional services and civil society. But while there are certainly successful rehabilitation programs in our prisons, there seems an inadequate monitoring of their effectiveness.
I think there is a lot of lip service, and while there are a lot of programs put in place, I have to question the quality of those programs.
Yes, these policies are wonderful, but they must be really going a lot of work into analyzing why hasn't things worked the way we planned it to work. And maybe also listening to people that are outside of government structures.
As long as we have insecure leaders heading up our organizations, our government institutions, you will always have a problem with them supporting initiatives that can genuinely make a difference. I think it's time for correctional services to sit up, take a hard look at themselves and ask, how are we engaging with outside people? Are we just using to fill time? Are we just using them so that we can tick off certain things? Or are we seriously engaging them as partners in this battle that we have to reduce crime?
In a moment, life on the outside for PBN's Stars Behind Bars.
Kwanele Arossi was released on parole from Pollsmoor in February 2010. He had been one of PBN's students when Special Assignment broadcast the story on the network.
I never thought about TV and film before. That was just a chance that I saw, and I wanted to escape the key. Then I went there and I find it cool. So as time goes by, I got interested.
But while he found his place in prison, the outside world would be a major challenge.
When they come out, it is so difficult to cope because suddenly you don't have the same kind of power. Suddenly you're reduced to nothing, and that makes it extremely difficult.
When I was released, I phoned Marius telling him that I was released, and he managed to give me a job. Then I worked with him.
Soon after, Kwanele returned to Pollsmoor, but not as a repeat offender, rather as a PBN volunteer.
It was great for me going back there, like as a free man, because prison is like another place. There's those long dark corridors and places where you can't even think of, like showers, running all night and all that. And that, when you go in prison, like as a free man, you think, I used to be in the same situation as this guy.
Kwanele was utilized by PBN to assist with the PBN student intake of 2010. One of the students was Vusi Kinisili.
I didn't know what I was coming into, but I just told myself that the day I was convicted that I have to go to prison, not to waste time. I don't have there to play and I have to do something for myself, you see. And the first thing that came to mind was television.
Kwanele and Vusi were active participants in many of PBN's 2010 programs, particularly the Pollsmoor Survival Guide, a step-by-step guideline for first-time offenders.
Prison is a strange institution to come into. It will take you a while to get used to it. And there are many valuable lessons to be learned.
Pollsmoor's correctional officers assisted with this video, further bridging the divide between offenders and members. Vusi was subsequently released in January 2011.
It's very difficult to be a parolee outside. It's difficult, and especially when you want to change. to live a normal life. I used to hang out with gangsters and stuff. I used to like, I never like think of if I take something that can break marriage or something, you see. But what I learned inside has taught me a lot, and when I get outside, it was a challenge, because now I had to learn new things, how to live without doing any wrong. My wish is just to get a job. Doesn't matter what kind of a job, just to work for my family and be a good guy, good person, and to teach young guys not to go the same route, because it's not easy in prison.
I know it's difficult being outside, facing parole, the family stress and all that, but still, we are human beings. We can, like, talking about myself, I told myself that no matter what difficulties I'm facing, I have to like put my feet down and say, okay, this is the life that I want to live. I want to live a positive life. So no matter what difficulties might come, I will face it.
Recently, PBN produced a commercial with some of its ex-offender students. It was shot by Platypus Productions for Ogilvy and Mather Advertising Agency. Part of it was shot in Sea Point.
The commercial was about offenders being released. Do they change, or is it possible that they can change while they are outside, when they are outside? So that commercial was more about the response of people, of the society outside.
Juanele has also applied his skills to the commercial film industry.
My dream is to become a DOP, but I'm a camera assistant, trainee camera assistant. So I'm a freelancer. I work like for film industry, and I'm also doing a project called Film. I live my life through the opportunities that I see, and I live my life through my past, because I don't want to repeat what I've done.
To rehabilitate someone is taking them from where they're at, meeting them where they're at, and taking them to a better place. A place where they're far more productive in society, where they themselves have reached a place of inner peace, and they can develop from that place. My real passion that I've been driving towards for the past decade has been to impact offenders en masse. And so, doing anything other than that is almost like a step backwards.
But inside, separated from the rest of the human race, time is the mirror you must face. Time is the mirror you must face.
So, is the Department of Correctional Services serious about rehabilitation? Tell us what you think by tweeting under the hashtag Special Assignment. You can also Facebook or email us. And you also have a chance to call in on this matter on my radio show. That's on SAFM Radio on Fridays after 2 p.m. Remember that you have the opportunity to get another viewing of this show and previous ones on the SABC News website. That's sabc.co.za/news. Well, that's it from me. Join us again next week when we point out the issues that matter.